Hi, and welcome to week 4 of Systematic Theology. This week we're going to be looking at the Trinity, and we have 2 assignments and 1 discussion post again this week. There are a couple of options for you to choose from, and one of the assignments is rather in-depth, so you maybe grab a cup of coffee. This could run more than 10 minutes, but I want to try to give you the best understanding of the assignment I can. So for this week, we have 4 goals. First, to explain the historical development of the doctrine of the Trinity. How does God the Father, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit work together as the Trinity, which is something you've already read about, but this week you'll be exploring in more detail. To identify heretical understandings of the Trinity, which helps us then understand what the Trinity should be by understanding what the Trinity isn't. Show the relevance and practical significance of the doctrine of the Trinity, and to locate key primary historical texts in the development of Christian doctrine. This is a topic that is highly misunderstood within the church, and so it's really good to be able to spend an entire week focusing on how these 3 parts of the Trinity come together and are best understood. So in assignment 4.1, you have 2 different options. One is a letter, the other is a position paper. You've had this option before, so that's not unique. A person for whom you are ministerially responsible struggles with the concept of the Trinity, as do many of us. They are actively pursuing their own spiritual formation, but wonder what this confusing paradoxical doctrine has to do with their relationship to God. It seems like just one more irrelevant ivory tower doctrine. So you're to write a 2 to 3 page paper to this person responding to their concerns, or develop a 2 to 3 page position paper in which you address the relationship between the doctrine of the Trinity and the practical life of the Christian. Lots there to discuss and think about. Be sure, as always, whether you're doing a letter or a position paper, to include lots of biblical support, lots of engagement with the reading, and lots of outside research. Another key thing that I'm looking for here is, how do you tie the doctrine of the Trinity to the practical life of the Christian in either Christian ministry or in the modern church? So an interesting and deep idea. You'll be touching on this topic from different directions in each of our assignments. So as you go through it, you're going to find yourself exploring nuances in different ways. Now for assignment 4.2, and this is the one that needs a little explanation. In 2 to 3 pages, evaluate the role of the doctrine of the Trinity and what it plays in Millard Erickson's overall systematic theology. You have already read Erickson's discussion of the doctrine of the Trinity. So what the assignment is trying to get to is, how does the understanding of the Trinity impact the rest of Erickson's systematic theology? In other words, where is the Trinity used as the basis of other theological disciplines throughout Erickson's textbook? Well, to do that, you're going to need to review, where is the Trinity discussed outside of the chapter of the Trinity. So assignment 4.1, we're looking at the Trinity and trying to better understand it. Assignment 4.2, you're saying, okay, we understand the Trinity, but how does that understanding get discussed or used as evidence throughout the rest of the systematic theology? Similarly, a good assignment is going to be able to not only look at Erickson, but look at Grudem and look at some of the other systematic texts that you've used this semester. An easy way to do that, and I'll talk about it more in a second, is Logos. Logos has a great search feature. And so if you look through and search through Erickson and Grudem and others, then or Millard, you may well be able to search and find out where Trinity as a keyword is used in these other texts. So your survey should consider these kinds of questions. Examine the extent and depth of its coverage, it being the Trinity, of the doctrine of the Trinity. Its integration of the Trinity into the entire theological system. Does the Trinity shape the order of topics or the presentations of particular sections of the theology textbook? Its focus on practical or ecclesial implications of the Trinity and other matters that are relevant. In other words, how does it play into the modern church? How is it practical for our understanding of theology? To complete this assignment, you will need to scan or survey the rest of the volumes. Note, you of course do not have to read all of Erickson's textbook. Instead, use the table of contents, the index, and other tools, as well as a quick visual scan as necessary. A Logos search for the word Trinity in Erickson or Grudem or Millard or any of the other textbooks on Logos should be part of your work as well. You can report statistics, but also note where the term is used and where it is a significant factor in understanding that concept of theology. Some of your conclusions on these larger issues may be impressionistic, but try to work within reasonable time limits. Now, I'm also wanting you to cite where you're finding it. So it's not just a high overview. I reviewed Erickson and I found blank, blank, blank. It's I reviewed Erickson and I found blank, blank, blank. Here is what Erickson says, and then this is what I think about it, and perhaps throw in a biblical citation that supports how you found or where you decided to land in your own research. So finally, we have a discussion post, and you're to answer the following questions. What are the greatest misunderstandings or confusion about the Trinity we find in the contemporary church? Now, you've had this question before on a different topic, so you understand trying to work through misunderstandings. And then how do these misunderstandings present themselves? And then finally, what factors contribute to these misunderstandings? Many of you noticed when we had this type of assignment before, I wanted you to take one more step, which is how do we combat these misunderstandings? So you might want to throw that in as well. If the modern church has a misunderstanding, how should we, if that's the macro and our church is the micro, how should our church combat this misunderstanding for those who attend? As always, your assignments are due on Monday, except for the initial discussion post, which is due on Friday at midnight Central Standard Time. For assignment 8.1, continue working on your theological synthesis. This week, you would complete your summary of the doctrine of God's person. As we've discussed before, you can either do it with ample biblical support, which is great, or you can do ample biblical support and add some outside research. Either is fine. I'm not going to grade differently if you do or do not have academic support, but you really need to understand the topic, and having reviewed the academic sources will help you at least understand and write about the topic more knowledgeably. Finally, as always, include quotes from the reading, outside research, and biblical support for the body of your posts and papers. Include an introduction and a conclusion, and feel free to call me with or email me with any questions. I am in Raleigh this week and available as you need. Have a great day, and I hope you had a wonderful Labor Day weekend, and we're able to find some balance between assignments as we move into the midway point of the course, week 4. Have a great day.